Hey there! Welcome to Take Joy on Your Journey. I'm your host, Crystal Joy. And you know that Take Joy on Your Journey is conversations with people you know and people you don't know and people you'll get to know as you hear what they have to share about the traumatic things they have gone through in their lives and how the Lord brought them through. And of course, they didn't just come through and say, well, I guess I made it. No, they came through and they have joy. And I mean, God gives it in abundance. Well, my guest today is one of my favorites, okay? You all know I love the arts and I love music. And let me just give you a little bit and see if you can guess who it is, okay? Several of his songs is You're Doing It All Again. Lord, I love you. See, I'm about to break out into shout myself. Great Things. King of Glory. You know what? Before I start shouting, I'm just going to tell you all who it is. So please welcome my dear friend and excellent artist, Todd Dulaney. How are you doing today?
Crystal, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me today.
I'm geeked, okay? Because our
Yeah,
conversations are always straight to the point, nitty
absolutely.
gritty, ain't nobody trying to play any kind of foolishness, okay?
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
congratulations to you on your current single, No Weapon. So
Thank
far, it's
you.
number 15, but I'm sure it's going to move up,
That's
this
right. That's right. In Jesus' name, move
in
us on up.
Jesus' name. And then your award that you won from the Stellars,
Yeah,
Album
yeah,
of the Year on The
yeah,
Journey.
yeah.
Journey, I like the term journey. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay. And then you have a mentorship. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah.
The Dulaney Directive Mentorship Program, and you're helping aspiring artists. Yeah, I
Hmm.
want to find out more about that. Not that I'm trying to make a record or anything, but
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
so you've also worked with CC Winans with her album More Than This.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am not going to start crying. I'm just going to keep it moving. All right. And there's a lot of other things that you're doing. And I love how they say that you release anthemic music.
Hmm. Yeah.
I love anthems. All
Yeah.
right. Because that's a building up in the
Hmm.
spirit
Hmm.
through music. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you have amassed over 330 million streams.
Wow.
Ain't nobody playing. Okay, they want to know that they know that they know that God is real.
Yeah.
And your music is so real. Now, a lot of times people go back and they bring this up, and I have to bring this up because I
Hmm.
want you to break it down for me about how in the world, before we get started on the other things that I wanted to share with you, how in the world do you go from and strike the music, okay, gospel music, because I heard you were pretty good in baseball.
Yeah, I guess more than pretty good. I got a chance to play professional baseball with the New
Mhm.
York Mets, and so I would have never imagined my life ended up as a gospel singer, a singer, let alone a gospel singer. You know what I mean? Because I like my parents raised me to be in church,
Mhm.
but once I got out of their house, that was the furthest thing from my mind. I was like, I don't want to see another church. I don't want to be in another church. I don't want to meet another pastor. And
You were
so I
really out there. You were like,
oh
forget
yeah,
this.
I mean, because we stayed in church so much when I was growing up that
Okay.
I just was
Okay.
like, Lord, as soon as I get out of this house, I can't come back because I thought that being in church was just a waste of my time growing up until I got old enough to realize that hey, I need this thing. Like this thing they taught me when I was little, I need this and I can't make it on my own. And I found myself now back in the church more than I ever was when I was a child. Now singing like this. So I mean, God had a plan while I was playing baseball. Loved the game, got paid to play the game. But he redirected my steps, and I'm really, really glad that he did because this whole journey of music ministry for me is my life. Like it's not just my job.
Mhm.
I actually live this. This is what I believe in, and it's the only way for me to live.
I love it. I love it. In the midst of that, everybody that I'll just say strays away.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting and it's sometimes scary how much the Lord steers you back.
Man.
What man? That
Yeah.
alone says volume. So tell me what the man means.
You know, because you think
Mhm,
you think that you know what life is going to throw at you,
mhm.
and you just have no clue. Like,
Yeah.
um, I wouldn't have imagined that I really would. My mindset said, well, let me just play professional baseball, make as much money as I can, and I don't think I'll need God. That's a young mind. That
Yeah.
is, that's a young mind. Like, hey, I'm gonna make millions.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna need to be all up in the church, like, because I thought of church people as begging people that always need something. And I just kind of told myself, I said, man, I'm gonna make so much money playing ball that I ain't gonna be that. I'm just not gonna be that type of person. And God was like, son, he just had a way of teaching me, you will always need me. Like you said, as life just takes you on twists and turns, and you realize, I don't care how much stuff you got,
Yeah.
you're gonna always find your way back to needing God. I got a neighbor that lives next to me, that told me, he says, you don't have problems until you have problems that money can't solve. That's when you know you got problems. And see, when you run into an issue that money can't solve the issue, and that God is really the only one that can come in and change a thing, that's when you know that God is real. That's when you know that it's like, hey, I don't care what happens in my life, I'm gonna need Him. And
Wow.
so anyway, that was my redirection path from baseball to now I'm living this life where I could not, cannot, will not live without God.
Was there anything specific that took place, like in the illness or a death or extreme loss of money? You mentioned having money and then not.
You know,
What was it that was the trigger?
so in baseball, you don't really make a whole lot of money until you become superstar
Mm,
status
yeah,
type.
yeah.
I never was a superstar. I was just a guy that was making, I made six figures, right? And so it wasn't money for me. Like, I had never really amassed wealth, right? So I didn't know what that was yet.
Okay.
But for me, it was just, well, it was a couple things happened that kind of directed my path. I had experienced a small injury to my wrist, but that was just the beginning. That was just something to slow me down and take a look at life. I was like, because for the first time I had never been injured. I injured a wrist, and then I started saying, dang, this thing can be taken away from me just like that. Like this thing can be over. So what am I gonna do next? All right. So I come home one off season and I meet this pastor, Pastor Smokey Norfolk. At the time,
Of
I
all
was,
people.
yeah. He was just starting the church.
Hmm.
And so I come home and I join his church. Well, I come home and I'm looking to date this young lady. And this lady invites me to church. And so I go to the church. And the first night I was there, man, the music ministry was slapping so bad. It was so just beautiful of a night. And when they gave the call to give your life to the Lord, I just found myself walking up there. Went up there, gave my life to the Lord, and then I started going to this church every week. Even after I wasn't talking to the girl anymore, I was going to this service every week.
Forget her.
And
I can
it,
find something
right,
better.
right, yeah, something better. This is changing my life. And so I'm going, and as I'm going there, my mind is changing, and I'm like, the one thing that I thought was important was like, I'm going to be wealthy playing baseball was beginning to not be as important. And so I'm singing in the choir, singing in the praise team, and then Smokey invites me, says, "Man, you're doing good on the praise team and choir. How would you like to come and sing background for me?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it. I don't know how to do that, but," he said, "Just do what you do on Sunday morning. You just sing your part." Blah blah. I was like, "Okay, cool." So I started traveling with him, and like I said, and as I'm doing that, more and more, I'm falling in love with the whole thing. Like, I'm like, hey, I got this new relationship with Jesus. I really don't know much about it. I got this whole new job that I'm traveling around the world with a Grammy Award winning artist. I'm singing with him, but people are being impacted in a way that I couldn't impact them on the baseball field. Like they come, they drink, they get drunk, they have a blast, they go to the game, they go home. But this thing, I'm going and people are being changed as we're standing on these stages and singing these songs. And I'm like, man, I can live for this. I can do this. No, I think the hardest part of it was letting everybody know around you that you weren't going to go and make millions of dollars and they weren't going to be able to live off of you in the future. I think that was the hardest moment of my life because it caused me to have to stand on my own and not depend on people that had taken care of me my whole life. So even my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, they all did the best that they could to persuade me that what I was doing was wrong. Like you're leaving behind the potential of making millions of dollars and you're gonna do something that you're not even sure can even pay you. And
You were
but I
taking
just
an Abraham step.
I was taking I mean and you don't learn this until it's time for you to take one of those steps. Like I look at my children now though, and I look at them and I say, one of these days you're gonna have to disobey me and it's gonna be for your own good.
Can you say that out loud?
No. No. I can't because I don't know when that time is, and I don't believe it's anytime soon. And I'm praying, but I know how God is. I know him for myself. Like I know what he did in my life. And he literally had to cause me to disobey them so that he could prosper me and them.
You know what, Todd? I wonder if it's disobey him or you tell me for you.
Well,
Or
disobey
if it
them.
was people pleasing.
Well, I think this. I think that my parents thought that they had my best interest at heart.
Okay. Okay.
So they were telling me you're making the wrong decision. I was telling them I've heard God for myself for the first time in my life as a young man. And I'm sure that I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to stop playing baseball and pursue this music ministry life. And everybody in my life was like, hey man, you're making the biggest mistake. This is not what you're supposed to do. And I'm not saying that they were looking at money. I think they were looking at the potential of me having security and nobody else in my life.
Okay.
Nobody else in our family had that. Like so it was like, man, like dude, you got a chance to be different. You got a chance to do something that nobody's ever done.
Yeah.
No, but the part that's kind of amazing to me is that I ended up doing that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, but I did it God's way. He knew. They didn't know because I put so much effort into athletics and playing baseball that nobody really believed in my family that I had what it took to to be a world-renowned worship leader or a singer or a songwriter. They didn't know because they didn't know.
But did they
You know what I
know? But you've been singing. You were singing prior to that, were you not?
I was singing here and there, like here and there. I mean, and when I say here and there, it was literally here and there because my life was dedicated to baseball. Yeah. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like everybody around me, that's all they knew because I trained daily. We traveled. My family and I traveled. My parents spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on baseball that we didn't have. You know what I mean? They just scrapped it up, or a team let me play for free. You know what I mean?
So they invested in you.
Oh, so imagine that feeling. That feeling when he says, "Nah, I'm not gonna do this no more." Man, as a parent, you're like, okay. So I know that the day is gonna come one day that because I believe that's how God rips the training wheels off of you. He tells you to do something, and everybody that you trust is going to tell you to do the opposite. And then he's going to look at you and say, well, what are you going to do? And that's what happened to me. And I trusted him. And it caused a bad blow up. Like, I mean, I'm not talking about a bad blow up like a week. I'm talking about it lasted for like years in my family.
Whoa, wait a minute. What blow up as in you
Oh man, like
guys?
I moved in with my aunt for some years, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause you know what I mean? Cause once I came home from playing baseball, like I had to start over again. You know what I mean? Like, and money was dwindling. You know what I mean? At first, you know, I had a signing bonus that I was sharing with. You know, I was kind of like open to sharing it with my family. I was buying things for my family, buying things for the house, washers, dryers, refrigerators. You know what I mean? I was buying. You know, I was using my baseball money to support my family because that was the first time that we had gotten like a check like that. You know, so but so when I came home, there was like a real, it was like we couldn't really coexist anymore because it was like, oh, you want to make this decision, you grown, so you know what I mean, you need to make grown decisions, do your thing, and my aunt, you know what I mean, because I went to my aunt and I told my aunt Thelma, I said, hey, I know for sure I've heard God. I'm supposed to do this. Like, I'm supposed to tell the world about Jesus. Like, that's what I'm called to do. My aunt was like, listen, if this is what you heard, then you follow this. You can stay here for as long as you need to you know what I'm saying, to get on your
Nothing
feet.
like the aunties, honey.
Man, I mean, and and I can't, I ain't knocking my mother and father, but
Yeah,
my father,
yeah.
it was my mom, was always there, right? My
Yeah.
dad was like, he was raising me to be a man, so he was not trying to be nice about it. You know what I mean? And he was like, look, you got to find a place to live. You grown now. You can't live up in here, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? He was just trying to make me a man. And
And
my,
I wonder sometimes, I'm sure based upon what you have shared with me now and before about your parents, that there was a part of them that wanted so bad to reach in there, to come on home, sugars. How
yeah,
you doing,
yes,
baby?
yes.
But that doesn't grow you up. That
Yeah,
doesn't
no.
push you to maturity.
Yep.
But it is embarrassing because
It is. It really is. I'm telling you, that was a really rough season for me. But more than anything in that season, I learned how to trust God in a way that benefits me today more than anything that, hey, he's ever taught me. Like I'm so far over here on the deep end of trusting God that most people think I'm a little strange with it. And that's because I was able to walk away from a job like the New York Mets and then win. Like a lot of people try to trust God and they don't experience the big victory that they're looking for, and it causes them
immediately.
to, yeah, it causes you to waver in your faith. But when you walk away, stand your ground, have to separate from family, have everybody tell you that you're dumb, this is a stupid decision, and then you move in with your aunt for a year or two or whatever it was, and survive it, and then God bring you through it, like with much, man, you tell me, you can't tell me not to trust God now. Like I'm the first one, and I think it's kind of spurred on my career. A lot of people look at the music and they think the music is like the thing. They're like, man, this dude just keeps writing anthems. He keeps it. They don't know my relationship with God is real strong. It's real good, and it produces because I know I can trust Him. I walked away
Well,
from baseball,
you
so
know what's interesting is that most people don't, they automatically assume that when you do become successful
hmm
in
hmm
any arena, that you say, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt God told me to do this. But I've seen it happen again and again and again, that even though you know that it is of God,
hmm
he never really just hands it to you and say, I want you to do this. And then
hmm
some stranger drives up with a Rolls Royce to say, hey, I heard from the Lord and he said that you're about to do this.
Come on,
Check
right,
this out. You need a ride. And then
right.
somebody else call and say, excuse me, we were trying to get rid of a jet plane. Would you like
Yes.
it? It worked like that.
No.
Even when you put together a movie, a lot of people assume that everything you're going to go through that's similar to somebody in the movie, it's going to happen in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Boom, you're there.
Yeah.
But in the midst of it, now, I don't know, but I mean, for me, for some of the things that I have navigated through, and even navigating now, there's a slight point where you say, let me look at my notes. Did God really?
Did I mess this up? Yes. Did I mess this up? Were they right? You know, yeah, that was, I mean, so many times that I used to say that. I'm like, man, maybe they were right. Maybe I should have never stopped playing ball.
Especially after all of those little White Castles that you eat and some crackers and cheese and Roman noodles.
Come on, and asking my aunt to loan me some money, and like, you know what I'm saying, just at a low place, you know, like, you know, it was low. But I mean, I'm telling you, he kept giving me little markers in the road to just remind me, no, you're on the right track. Little markers, little victories, little this, little that, little meetings with people that say, man, your music is like, it's going to be awesome one day. You got a big sound. You got to, you know, just little people to just encourage what he said. And I stayed the course. You know, I'm gonna move ahead in the story a little bit. When I got an opportunity to sit down with the record label that I was signed to first, Entertainment One. It was the first meeting where I was trying to get a deal. I was trying to get a major deal. I had gotten to the table. I had packaged up about 10 songs, and I was like, man, I just need an opportunity to be heard. And if I do, this whole dream that we kind of walked away from baseball for is going to be realized. I'm telling you. So I sat at the table with them, and they looked at me and were like, who are you? And you know what I'm saying? Like who knows?
Like you? Labels do.
Yes. They flat out say, who are you? Who knows you? And how are we going to recoup our investment if nobody knows who you are? They're like, man, you know, they're like, you know, you're coming from the world of baseball, but who knows you in the church that will buy this record?
That's a legitimate question.
I mean, business. This is business. You know what I mean? Like, and my response was, God promised me that if I walked away from baseball, that he would not let me fail. I says, all I know is that if you guys take a chance on me, you're going to win. I'm sitting at the table, and every question that they asked me, that's all I could respond. God promised me. And I promise you that if you go into business in partnership with me, you're going to win. I become one of their most streamed, most profitable artists over the last decade. And most Billboard #1s at radio, most this, that, and the other. All I had was the promise. My next project I'm gonna release is called Promises.
Wow.
And it is the best of Todd Dulaney project.
You know what? I would love for you to do a song that represents what you were just saying, mile markers.
Woo! Yes. That's powerful.
Mile marker.
That mile markers is powerful. That is really powerful because that's what keeps you going. It just, but yes, that's my next project. Gonna come out at the top of next year. We haven't selected a date, but it's called Promises. And every song that he's given me, they're the promises that he promised me that he would take care of me. He promised me that he would not allow me to look a fool when I stepped away from playing ball, and he kept his promise. And the music that he gave me sustains me, pays the bills. Every time I think that something else is going to come, here comes another royalty check from the promises that he gave me.
Here's a question. Did you have any regrets? Not just now, but did you have any in the process as you were moving into what God has called you to do? Was there anything like relationships that you're like, man, I wish that had turned out better, or financial mistakes or anything like that? Any regrets?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I regretted anything because I think in this move that I made, I followed really closely. Like I was really, really spot on with my following of what God wanted me to do. I think that my regret would have come in if I would have missed him. Like
Okay.
if I would have decided to make now, do I miss like baseball and the competition at times? Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, like because over here in the kingdom of God, there's a different way you gotta operate. Like there it's not much competition that you know what I mean you can really engage in because you know competition in the house of God is kind of frowned upon because it kind of like you pitting yourself up against another believer. But in the world of sports, it's 100% embraced, and it's like I so to teach my son even now because he's playing baseball to teach him to compete. I have to tap into that mind because that mind is savage. It's not
Yeah.
people don't get you don't. Where I tell you, like when I talk to people in the house of God, they don't they couldn't even understand what it takes to play a professional sport because it's like there are no friendships. There aren't real friendships.
Play.
Man, you got it.
You know, maybe I'm living in La La Land, but I'm thinking, yeah, you did it. You go for it. You got it. Oh,
Every
we didn't make it this time, but that's okay. Because next, am I thinking Sesame Street?
you're thinking yes because everyone in the world, every child in the world wakes up and says they want your job. Every kid. So every year you're playing professional sports. Here comes the next 18-year-old that just graduated high school. He's ripped up, he's fast, he's strong, and he wants your job. And there's only, you know, think about how many people there are in the world and how many people are playing pro sports. That point such and such percent. So they don't have enough jobs to go around.
No.
So you know what I mean? And so imagine, so when you get there, everybody's walking through the locker room like, yeah, we shake hands, we're cool. But if I get a chance to take your job, I'm taking it. And we're gonna work, we're gonna scrap, we're gonna spit, we're gonna do whatever we gotta do to get out there and get it. And people don't understand that type of mindset in the house of God. They just don't because everything is love everybody. And I love it. I do. I love to love my neighbor, but I miss the competition at times too because I love you know what I mean. I also love to punch somebody right in the mouth and and win my spot. So imagine how I'm teaching my kid right now. I'm literally like I am literally having to double down and back up and say, hey, I'm teaching you kingdom, but I'm teaching you when you're on the field, you have to be a complete savage. Nobody's feelings can matter to you. You have to completely go after them with everything that you have. After the game, you can shake hands, you can pray for them, you can do whatever you want to do. But in between the lines, I need you to not care about how you go about this.
Woo! So there's got to be a point where you have a soft heart for their soul,
Yeah.
but you have to be
Ready to run completely over them.
it doesn't even blend. It sounds crazy.
Right. And so that's kind of the way my mind feels. It feels like we're warring. We're in a war
Wow.
in my mind. But I know that in order to for him to make it, or in order for any of my children to make it and be dominant, they must carry a mindset that most people won't ever agree with me on. But most people have never been to where I've been, so they don't know what it takes. And I know I do. Like I know that you can't compete with the LeBrons of the world if you don't have something in you that's gonna go just or else he's gonna dominate you. And he's just they're too skilled, and the people at the top have no concern for your feelings. So
And you know what? In this may be a push. But in a lot of ways, we have to really consider setting our emotions aside and our
Yeah.
feelings aside when it's time for us to do what God has called us to do. So
Yeah.
you have kind of walked it in the process of leaving, one industry and stepping into a completely different
Yes.
industry. You had to disregard emotions of
Hmm.
your own, emotions of others, statements or phrases or somebody talking behind your back or whatever.
Yeah.
You had to shut it out
Yeah.
because you had a goal in mind. So in a lot of ways, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You are right. And it's so many different ways though that I was able to use what I learned over there in over here.
Mhm.
Like, and it gave me such an advantage. It gave me
Mhm.
such an advantage to have competed at a professional level and then come over here into this industry, into this ministry. The
Mhm.
discipline that I had, I noticed that it always put me ahead of other artists. Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? The being on time, the waking up for lobby calls,
Ah.
never missing a flight. You know what I mean? To setting a standard for my band. My band was like, hey, he's like military. Like he's if he says be downstairs at a certain time, he totally means it, or else you'll never get a call again. And that was all baseball. That was all professionalism that had trained me, but it caused me to have this run, this music ministry run that has dominated for the last decade.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that because that still ties into the word.
Mhm.
Be diligent.
Yes.
And being diligent means that you have to discipline yourself,
Hmm.
crucifying the flesh.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
I'll be there rehearsal in just a minute. I'm finna go over here and get me a drink.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
it's still the same thing. And I
Yeah.
think, and I wonder if this is true in your heart. It's really about a mindset. It's
Yes.
setting the mindset of discipline and being diligent, but out of the heart of God
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
not out of trying to prove, yeah,
Yes.
I
And
got this.
dominate somebody. Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yes. So
yes.
I was able to bring that over. And it really helped sustain my career and life up until now. Like it really does. Like I've lost friendships in the music ministry just because I fired people because they don't make it down to flight, or they don't, they miss a flight, missing and I have to hire a singer on the road. I've and we're still cool. We're still cool. But
Because
like,
they know you're right, and because you don't have to be nasty and
yep,
disciplined, or be disciplinary and ugly. You don't have to
yep,
be stank about it.
yep,
You
yep,
can be cordial and kind and say, "Oh my goodness, precious, I'm so sorry you missed that
yes,
flight.
yes,
This is the second time. Okay, you
yep,
remember what happened? So I'm hoping you can get a ride home,
yes,
but I'm gonna have to hire somebody else, and we'll talk about when we get back.
yes.
But I'm gonna have to
And
let you go."
that's right. That's
And
right.
just and you can't get mad about that. My first
Yep.
lady in my church, I mean, she has rebuked me on several occasions. I was like,
Yes.
"Oh, okay, praise the
Yes.
Lord," because
Yep.
you can't get upset about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
you
you know you're
could,
wrong.
but
Yeah.
you're missing out. You're missing out on what God is trying to show you. Because
Yeah.
one of the things that I try to remind my young people, even some grown-did folk, that's
Yeah.
it, grown-did,
Yeah.
that's in the book of Crystal, is that there is no utopia. None of
Yeah.
us have arrived as the perfect Christian.
Never
Like,
will.
hey, if you want to find out how to be a good person of God, go see. No, honey, go Jesus. Go
Yes.
Jesus. Check him out and see how he handles things and what he does.
Yeah.
I could talk to you forever. Okay, you hear me? One of the things I wanted to share for you to elaborate on
Right.
is about your mentoring organization and just talking to you even more. I'm like, can I be a part?
Right. Right.
Come on. And that is the Dulaney Directive Mentorship Program.
Yeah.
Please tell me about it. How did you get started in it? And tell me about what it's all about.
This was just an idea that I had to really allow a group of people into the real knowledge of the music industry. So this thing gets exactly the way we're talking right now. This mentorship program gets just like this. I try to give them all the secrets, the nasty, the good, the bad, the ugly, about what is really going on in this industry. Like one thing we talked about this past week. Well, the class was called "Music Ministry is Not the Music Industry," and so we were trying to get them to separate the two. You know what I mean? Trying to get them to understand that the people that run the music industry a lot of them don't even know Jesus. And so to get that out of your mind, that when you watch award shows, stop looking for Jesus, because most of these people are, you know what I'm saying? Like, these people are about making money and
Oh, yeah.
not about promoting the Lord. And this is
Bottom
not
line
wrong.
is the almighty dollar.
Yes. So that, that's one of the classes, and that's kind of the way we talk, because I want to share with them, if you're ready to get into the music industry, you got to be willing to understand that this is business. This is not your pastor and prophet, and they don't run the music industry. And so that's just one of the many classes that I teach, and I just kind of walk them by the hand. I take a listen to their music. You know what I'm saying? I help them tweak their music. I even got a staff of producers and musicians that will rearrange their music if they, you know what I'm saying? And so it's a whole company that offers all things music. And it's called Dulaney Land Music.
Wow.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how would people get in touch with you regarding the mentorship?
If you go to DulaneylandMusic.com, you can go there and sign up for the next class. You can also go there and contact us and say, hey, you know what? I got some music I'm working on. I would love for your producers to jump in on that as well. So we kind of offer it all, but go to DulaneylandMusic.com.
Awesome. And congratulations to you on everything
Thank
that we
you.
talked about today.
Thank you.
You're a masterpiece. And that's what I
Wow.
talk about in my book, about being
Wow.
God's masterpiece. He is
Thank
the
you.
master, and he's so huge.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
can only give each and every one of us some of him. So we're
Yeah.
a piece of him, and he
Yeah.
gives us peace with it. Therefore, we are his master
Masterpiece. That's right.
in every level. And I thank you that you have walked in that calling, and you have moved in that calling, and you have not turned back, even though you were tempted to.
Yeah. So
We all are, when it doesn't turn out the way, we think it will.
yeah.
And you moved just like Abraham did, regardless of the circumstances. And I know it was challenging, because I was sitting here sweating with you telling me about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's in the past. It's over.
Yes. Yes.
But it's like you really don't move forward in becoming the person that God has called you to be until something happens to you. And I was in a mentoring program, and I'm gonna say this real quick, that was so powerful. A.W. Tozer, and they mentioned this quote about, before God can use you greatly, he must crush you deeply.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And when they talk about the fruit of the vine and how that crushing to get the juice out of it, and never mind the olive oil.
Yes.
All right, the crushing that has to take place, and we don't like that side.
No.
That's not fun. That's not cute.
Yeah.
I don't have any money. I need to get my hair done.
Right. Right.
How am I supposed to go to an interview looking like this? We always feel like the world gives us the impression, even the world of Christian thinking, worldly Christian thinking, that if you just pray, then it's just going to lay out for you just the way you think it is.
Yeah.
But we have to move into having a mind of Christ.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily going to come out the way you think it will.
Yeah.
And our thoughts are not like his thoughts, and vice versa, honey. It's in the word.
Right.
So we have to continue to love and trust and walk in obedience and be diligent.
Yeah.
Diligent, and that means to discipline ourselves. And another thing I would have to say is that, and you didn't say the word, but you did it in the process, and that is forgive.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there were some things that was said and done in your
Yes.
face, behind your back.
Yes.
You were like, I
Yes.
just know they didn't. But
Yeah.
make up your mind to forgive
Yeah.
so you can
Absolutely.
move forward.
Absolutely.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
So
Thank
much,
you,
Todd
Crystal.
Dulaney. I
Thank
always
you,
have a ball
Crystal.
talking to you.
I mean, we look, you know me, you ain't gotta pull me. I'm gonna just say it.
And that's what I love. You are straightforward. I want to make sure that everybody gets just a little taste of what you have to offer. So I'm going to play one of your songs at the end of the show.
Praise
And I
God.
thank you again. And I'll be praying for you and your family, and especially this organization, honey.
Thank you. Thank
I
you
am
so
going to be
much.
praying for you all to do all that God has called you to do. And I can't wait to see the manifestation of everyone that becomes involved with it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going back to English class. That gets involved. If my sister was on, she's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a great English person. But anyway, I'm excited about your future. I am seeing a lot of new things that's going to come up that you're like, wow,
Praise God.
now I see what God is saying,
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not just going to stop here. I really sense that it's going to grow even greater because the Lord wants us to continue to give to others.
Yeah.
Every gift that we have, we're supposed to give it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Dr.
Crystal. I
I
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you too, sweetheart. And thank you all for watching Joy in the Morning. Make sure you like and subscribe. And make sure you check out my website, cjoyministries.com, for my book that is out, Who Art in Heaven. It's definitely not just for artists, it's for everybody. So make sure you check it out and pick it up. And I will see you next time on Take Joy on Your Journey. I'm your host, Crystal Joy. God bless you.
No. Oh, oh, oh. Through the fire, through the flood, through the valley, through the mud. And I won't fear now. Every hand, come on, say it. Whatever's trying to come against you, you tell them, say it. Shall prosper.